All right, and some news I can't say I'm really surprised in, but I am disappointed. It's looking like Keith Thurman's career is in. I'm not going to say he's done, but a lot of people are going to lose faith in him, especially when it comes to big fights, putting him on a pay per view. So, news has come out about 2 days ago. It is March the 20th, 2024, about the 18th. PBC released a press release saying Keith Thurman has pulled out of his fight, 2 weeks away, by the way, on March the 30th, against Tszyu because of a bicep injury. Keith Thurman's uh, uh, he's not new to injuries involving biceps, shoulders, and basically, I guess you can call him Mr. Glass. So now Tszyu is going to be taking on Sebastian Fundora on pay-per-view, by the way, in a fight where I'm just going to go ahead and say it's going to flop. It's from the T-Mobile Arena. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a lot of fans that are going to be asking for their tickets back or their money back. And I got to be honest, I'm disappointed, like really disappointed, because I was looking forward to Tszyu versus Thurman, mostly because I wanted to see what Thurman can bring to the table at the age of 35 right now. And it's looking like it's going to be hard for anyone to believe in him when it comes to selling a pay-per-view in the future. And in some other news, before we bring in Big J, WBO, longtime WBO champion at 147 and 140 and 135, and a two-time undisputed champion, Terence Bud Crawford, has entered his hat into the mix to fight the winner of Tszyu versus Sebastian Fundora. He is the WBO mandatory. Now, one thing, Big J, you can let me know. It's going to be the WBC interim on the line too, as well, right? Or is it just the WBO?
It's the full W. It's a unified bout with Tszyu's WBO title on the line, as well as the full vacant WBC
I'm looking
title.
At it right now. Yeah, it says
which Fundora was gonna. I mean, this is bullshit. This should have happened when Tszyu took on Mendoza. They should have elevated him.
Mm-hmm.
So while this is a much better fight, far more credible for Tszyu, and the winner looks like they're going to get Crawford in June, July. I can't understand how a bloke who got knocked the fuck out in his last fight is getting a unification bout his next, and he hasn't fought in years. So
yeah,
it's a much. I mean, you Americans might not like it, but us Australians over here are going, this is a much better fight. This is far more credible for Tim. Bigger grand prize, credible opponent, right, compared to Keith Thurman, and everyone knows what's coming. Another blown up, washed up welterweight. All right. I was never really. I said Keith Thurman was a bullshit fight. All right. It was a bullshit fight that never should have happened, and I'm glad it's not happening, because maybe they realised that it was a stupid idea in the first place, and this was a much better thing. But it's going to do very well in Australia either way.
Mm-hmm.
In the States, I don't know how it's going to do.
Oh no, it's gonna flop bad here. You know, that's not even a secret. It's gonna flop bad here. I mean, Tszyu is not an American. His obviously his ratings for his fights on Showtime have been abysmal. You know, like he has no real footprint here in the States anywhere. You know, so the Keith Thurman, because of the profile of Keith Thurman, despite the fact that Keith Thurman hasn't fought since 2022, would have kind of raised the profile of Tszyu a little bit. Fundora, not so much. But however, with Fundora, Tszyu is going to be introduced even more to the Mexican audience, because for one, with Hispanic audience, with Rolly on the card, with Isaac Cruz, Fundora, you know, so that's going to help him build a Hispanic fan base. But for PBC, their first event, this is a disaster.
Well, no, not really, because remember, Thurman pissed off all the Mexicans by saying that Tszyu's flat-footed Mexican.
He did, but the pay-per-view buys, Fundora don't bring in nothing. Like, this is their first inaugural PBC pay-per-view, and their star fighter, got injured 2 weeks before and pulled out. You know, they're going to lose a lot of money on this event.
Yeah, but they'll make a lot more when the winner fights Crawford.
Yeah, yeah. I'm guessing you. Well, that's clear what they're going for, and Crawford wouldn't have invoked his mandatory status if he didn't have any intention on fighting the winner of this. So, how do you think the fight's going to go? I won't be surprised if Sebastian Fundora gets stopped by body shots from Tszyu. You've been talking about that for years now regarding Fundora, as far as like just banging him away to the body. It's right there. It's open. How do you think the fight's going to go?
Exactly. Ninth round stoppage, body shots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Tim is going to absolutely cut him down.
Now,
cut him down.
So Brian Mendoza beat Sebastian Fundora. Well, I tell you what, the question is, where do you rank Fundora as a Tszyu opponent? Like, number 1, 2, 3, possibly like as far as credibility.
I'd say top 5.
So I'm gonna go number 1, Tony Harrison. Number 2, Brian Mendoza. Number 3, I want to say Dennis Hogan. Yeah, I want to say Dennis Hogan.
And Fundora would probably be number 4.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, Fundora would probably be number 4 because Carlos Ocampo, nothing really going on there.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other bloke he fought? Takeshi Inoue, nothing going on there.
Stevie Spark, Jeff Horn. I'm gonna die on that hill that Jeff Horn was washed up and sick. I'm gonna die on that hill. Prime Jeff Horn would have. Jeff Horn would have gave Tszyu some prime. Yeah, I'm gonna die on that hill. I think prime Jeff Horn would have gave Tszyu some problem. I'm not saying he would have won, but I'm saying he was a far more aggressive, rough, and rugged fighter.
Yeah, exactly. So. I mean, the problem, if you go through Tszyu's resume, and I've been saying it ever since, it's full of blown up welterweights. There's like 6 of them. So, I mean, his credibility, the problem is with the 154 division right now, it's not as credible as it was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
When you had J. Rock Williams, Jarrett Swift-Hurd, Charlo, Harrison, all at their peak. Now, you've got all these new guys who are up-and-comers who are completely unproven at the division and are picking up belts because Charlo had his issues, right? And, I mean, I still say this. Tim would have beat Charlo if they fought a year ago when they were supposed to. No doubt. I have no doubt Tim would have beat Charlo.
Mm-hmm.
Tim would have beat Charlo, right? And I think if Tim stays at 154, he's going to dominate for a while because it doesn't seem like there's anyone out there that can get him.
Terence Crawford, Virgil Ortiz, and Israel Madrimov is his only rivals in the division right now. Everybody else
I agree with that. Virgil Ortiz, he kicked the shit out of him. He's just another blown-up welterweight.
But I'm telling you, he's skilled. And as far as the fans are concerned, Virgil Ortiz, just him being up there is intriguing. And he's always been a big 147-pounder. So 154 is really where he belongs. Him trying to boil down to 147, I mean, I guess you could say being a weight bully is where he was getting himself in trouble. But those are the 3 main players, in the division now.
Don't forget about Buck Ramazzotti.
Yeah, I was going to say that, but I don't think him or Jack Couquet is really a factor. Yes, because of the title.
They're another step down.
Yeah, because of the title that one of them is going to have. Yeah, they're in the mix. But as far as the fighters Tszyu has to worry about is Crawford and Madrimov and Virgil Ortiz. And then you got guys like Jesus Ramos and then Erickson Lubin. I think Tszyu would beat him. Josh Kelly, Tszyu would beat him. Pay attention to Sergey Bahachuk. He was supposed to fight Fundora. That's a fight to pay attention to get a good gauge on because he's the one.
Where did that guy come from?
He's been around.
Was that guy ranked? Is it like that guy come out of nowhere?
No, he's ranked number 2. He's been around for some time. I've seen a couple of fights of his. He's been around for some time.
Yep. And is he Russian or is he
Ukrainian?
He's Ukrainian. Okay, right. So he's Eastern European.
Yeah, so basically, so with him, he would likely get his shot he's not going to come before Crawford, and then of course the winner of that fight can go towards a unification. So basically, and then I'm guaranteeing Virgil Ortiz would get a shot before him. So he's somebody to look at. But if Tszyu is still around in the division and keeps winning, he won't run into Bahachak for at least a year and a half, maybe 2. But he's somebody to watch out for.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, the focus is now to get past the Fundora fight to get the Crawford fight. There's been lots of reports over the last 24 hours saying that Crawford's thrown his hat into the ring. He's invoking his mandatory thing, and the winner of Tszyu Fundora is going to get him in July.
Yeah, I knew something was coming because Terence Crawford was at a WBO convention a couple of weeks ago, maybe 2-3 weeks ago, and he was with the president of the WBO. And normally when they do that, they're going down there lobbying for something.
Well, I mean, Terence Crawford's been a WBO champion now for how long? When did he first win 130?
Oh my gosh, that had to be. Wait, I can check right now. That was
that had to be at least 6-7 years ago.
Let's see.
10 years ago.
It was March of 2014. I covered that fight against Ricky Burns.
Well, that's 10 years ago. He's been a champion of WBO for 10 years.
Yeah, but also, you know how the rule is. It's like once you move up, when you're a champion, automatically mandatory. But yeah, he's been WBO champion in, wow, that's amazing. And he's going for the 4th division.
So with one phone call, Terence Crawford can pretty much do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
So in regards to the WBO, the other sanctioning bodies, not so much. But, we were talking about this. Remember when we were talking about Loma George? This is another fight where a champion is fighting a unification bout for a vacant title.
Yeah.
It's like, how often does that happen? That doesn't happen very much.
Yeah, you got to have some stroke with one of the sanctioning bodies to be able to get that type of treatment.
Yeah, so it's interesting how I sort of like the fight, yet I don't, because this should have happened when Tszyu fought Mendoza. They should have elevated him, and that should have been a unification bout.
And because it doesn't make sense, because now all of a sudden you're doing it. You're right. They should have did it before. Like it's inconsistent.
It is, because Fundora lost his last fight and got knocked the fuck out.
Yeah. And then
how is he getting a unification bout a year after having his ass handed to him?
Yeah.
Because it was April of last year when Mendoza beat him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't have a problem with Tszyu fighting Fundora because it was always going to happen eventually. I don't have a problem with that.
But in reality, he's not deserving of the status of fighting for a vacant, but basically fighting for 2 belts. He just lost his last fight, and for a vacant belt at that.
Exactly. So, and it wasn't exactly like it was a close call. He got knocked the fuck out. But anyway, I mean, for Australian boxing, it's a lot better because now all paths lead to Crawford, and that fight will be a lot bigger. I mean, how do you think that fight would sell in the States? Because in Australia, that would be huge. They would be better off bringing it in.
Crawford Tszyu?
Yeah.
Crawford Tszyu, don't get me wrong. If I was to say a number, 150,000 pay-per-view buys, 200,000, like very modest, not a big. Crawford's name, it has increased like tenfold. We don't know yet. His profile increased after the Errol Spence fight, but we don't know how far it increased to where, for example, a guy like Canelo, up until about maybe 3 years ago, a guy like Canelo, you can say he's going to bring at least 500,000 pay-per-view buys, at least, no matter who he fights. That was the low end. Now it's probably like 300. But with Crawford, we don't know quite yet. For example, Tank Davis up until the Ryan Garcia, he's going to bring in at least 200 to 250,000 pay-per-view buys. That's the baseline for him. We don't know where Crawford is with that because the Errol Spence fight was his biggest pay-per-view, and all of his pay-per-views before that were huge flops. So what's the profile of For one, we got to see if Tszyu creates a highlight reel this weekend. That's going to be his best bet to get something to knock out Fundora so bad on an inaugural PBC on Amazon pay-per-view that is trending all the way over the world. That's what's going to help him. He cannot go to a decision with Fundora if he wants to build his profile and be a star here in the States.
Exactly. But the thing
he's got to create a highlight reel, kind of like similar, but on a bigger scale than what Liam Parrow did. Like we said, he's got to get something to like really push him up, as far as his profile.
Exactly.
So he got to go out there and put a boot in Fundora ass.
Exactly. And I keep saying this. If Tszyu was to fight Crawford in this country, that's a 50, 60,000 seat stadium.
There you go. Now, see, now that's the other thing.
It's easy.
That's the other thing. But he wants to be an American star, and that's the thing. Yes, the money's going to be in Australia for that, and also he'll be the champion. So he'll be the A side in Australia. But
exactly.
He wants to make his name in America, and if that's what he wants to do, then he's got to roll his dice and fight in like that's what Keith Thurman was supposed to be. Tim Tszyu's coming out party here in the States. So it's going to have to be that Terence Crawford fight. I don't see Terence Crawford going to Australia. And I don't see Tim Tszyu's team wanting it to be in Australia. One thing I do want to say is, though, I think that it may be best for Tim Tszyu to possibly flirt with going to Top Rank, because Top Rank has that big ESPN platform, and we never know how the Saudis may feel. They're still a wild card out there.
Yeah, well, I've been saying that for like 3 or 4 years, and I'm sure I've mentioned it on the channel before. Why hasn't Bob snapped up Tim? He was there for the taking for like 3 years before the PBC got to him.
But if you think about it, the 154-pound division was dominated by PBC. It's not so much no more. That's probably why he didn't want to go through the politics of signing Tim Tszyu and did not be able to get him any fights. It was a heavily dominated PBC division.
Well, it's not anymore.
It's not anymore. Exactly. That's why I think if he was to go, to experiment, I think that he needs ESPN and Top Rank. I think that's going to get him over the hump. Because with the way PBC has been handling this fight over here in the States, little to no promotion, Top Rank would have had Tim Tszyu doing all kind of everything, over here, and building up the profile. So, but however, it's looking like it would have to be PBC because unless they settle it, Terence Crawford has bad blood with Top Rank with Bob Arum. He sued him for racism.
Yeah.
So
what was the outcome of that in the end?
What'd you say?
What was the outcome of that? Did that actually turn out to be anything?
We haven't heard anything. I wouldn't be surprised if it was settled, but we haven't heard anything at all. And Terence Crawford he at Top Rank events in the back interacting. So he's at their events. So something I personally think that they settled it, but there's still bad blood. I mean, you call Bob Arum a racist. I don't believe that was the case. He just felt that Bob Arum was promoting more Mexican fighters than he was promoting the black fighters. That's how he felt. That's what I got from the lawsuit.
I've never seen any evidence of Bob Arum doing
exactly. I didn't see it either. It's just that Terence Crawford's profile. Terence Crawford is a great fighter. He brings in great ratings on TV, on ESPN, but his pay-per-views have failed. And Bob Arum being unprofessional, sometimes old people, he can be like that. He was basically saying in public that I'm losing money on Terence Crawford every time I put him on pay-per-view. That's what he was saying. And
that's not racist. That's fucking facts.
But yeah, it is facts. But that's the way. I remember I did a whole video on the lawsuit, everything on it. And I remember that was how he felt. Was that well, the reason why my pay-per-views aren't selling is because you're not promoting me. But yet Terence Crawford was getting the same treatment and the same promotion, like with the YouTube channel stuff, the social media, everything. But as Terence Crawford is not the most charismatic of people.
No, he's not. But he's a great fighter and probably a great bloke.
Exactly.
I've never met him.
He's not a polarizing guy. In the ring he is, yeah. But outside the ring, he's not, the most, I've interviewed Terence Crawford. And I remember, I'm not going to say who. I was sitting next to somebody that works for Top Rank. I'm not going to, say who. And I remember they was like, man, he just doesn't give you nothing. Like talking on how he handles the media. And this has been his reputation. Like he gives yes and no answers, doesn't really go into detail too much about things. But then if he's mad at you or mad at a fighter, that's when his personality comes out. But when it comes to like doing media engagements, he just don't have it.
Yeah, true. Well, Tim's very similar. I mean, you don't get two words out of him.
Exactly,
so.
But Tim's getting better though. If you notice, like he's getting his moxie with him. Yeah. But that's how they are. They're fighters, and Tim. That's the perfect way to say it. Tim is the same way. They're the same guy. They're not really big on the trash talking. And how us Americans are. When it comes to, we want to see our fighters act like fools. That's the shit that sells over here. Flipping over tables, pushing each other off stages, talking all kind of shit, cussing. Unfortunately, that's the culture of boxing over here.
Yeah, but basically you try to cut promos like WWE
exactly.
wrestlers. So. Exactly. But I mean, I think Tim does need to go to Top Rank because look how well Top Rank has treated Australian fighters over the last decade.
They have, even the female fighters. They've been giving them some type. They've been giving them some shine. Yeah.
Well, I don't think Top Rank have any Australian females in their stable.
No, but because they have the co-promotional deal, they have a co-promotional deal with the Bella fighters.
Yeah, exactly.
So basically, that's they're putting them on ESPN.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and I think that would be a lot better if Tim went to Top Rank and went get Crawford and let's do it there. So, I mean, in Australia, that's a 60,000 seat stadium fight. No problem at all. No problem at all. I mean, I think that wouldn't be. I mean, Tim Tszyu, who's been crammed down our throats for the last 4 years, gets a fight against Crawford. That would be massive in this country.
Yeah,
massive.
Yeah. And Tim Tszyu about to turn 30, I believe.
No, he only had his birthday in November, so I think he's like 28.
Okay, wait, is he? I thought he was 30. Okay.
No, he's not 30. I think he's like 28.
I meant. Let me check real quick.
Yeah, 28. Yeah, but that's not for friggin' 8 months.
Yeah, no, he's 29. No, he's 29. So yeah, he's gonna be 30. But what I'm saying is, like he's in that full boxing like prime. He's right there in it.
Yeah, he's in the thick of his prime. Yes.
Yeah, he's in it.
Yes, he's in the thick of his prime. So, I'm interested to see how. Because everyone's going, he's only gotten 12 days notice. So what? Plenty of people have won titles on 12 days notice. Yeah, Jeff Hitman Harding beat Dennis Andrews back in the 80s on 10 days notice.
But also, because of Keith Thurman's history, I would not be surprised if they already had that as the plan in case Keith Thurman got injured. Is that, Fundora's going to step in. For example, Brian Mendoza is now taking on Sergey Bachak for the WBC interim. So how did they pull that off? Bachak is still fighting for the interim, and then Fundora, despite losing his last fight, is fighting for the full title against Tim Tszyu. Doesn't make any sense, but that's it. So the updated card is going to be Brian Mendoza taking on Bachak, Arizona Lara taking on Mick Zarafa. Of course, we're going to do an individual video on that, by the way, coming up. Rolly Romero versus Usyk Cruz, and of course Tim Tszyu versus Sebastian Fundora for the vacant WBC title and the WBO title. And Jermall Charlo is the champion in recess, but do not expect for him to be returning to the 154-pound division if he returns at all.
Yeah, well, I think I call bullshit on the whole thing. This has happened far too quickly and far too easily for this not to be the plan all along, or at least plan B.
Or I think it was always plan B. Or what if Keith Thurman's been injured longer than we know about, and they just been trying to, find a way to have him like healed before the fight, or see if he can go in the ring, but he just couldn't. Like this has probably been. It didn't just happen. I don't see it just happening.
No, a fight of this magnitude, there's no way in hell, and promoters and managers say it all the time. You've got plan A, you go all the way down to plan Z. Mm-hmm. So this would have had to be in the pipeline if something went wrong, because there's no way in hell PBC would be that fucking stupid to have a event like this, something goes wrong and they don't have a plan. I mean, I saw an interview of George Rose last night, as they had their show on Fox Sports last night, saying they were going to can the whole event. Bullshit, they were going to do that. It would have been disastrous if they did that.
Yes, it would have.
So this would have been plan B, because why else was Mendoza sparring with Tim Tszyu? I found that very, very interesting. Why is he sparring Mendoza? Yeah. What does Mendoza have to offer him? He beat him.
Yeah. So there you go. Yeah, you don't spar. Yeah. What are you teaching him? Yeah. So he had to be learning about Fundora. He had to be learning about Fundora.
He was prepping him to bloody get ready for Fundora.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, it doesn't take a fucking genius to put all these pieces together. Yeah. So, I mean, I always said the Thurman fight was bullshit, and it was just probably, I said it on Twitter, it was just a ploy to promote, the real fight, which I don't have a problem with because it's a much better fight, far more credible opponent, bigger prize, and the win against Crawford. What's not to like?
Yeah, and by the way, here in the States, the Rolly Romero Usyk Cruz has now taken the lead as the fight that people are really, really care about. Now, it was already an interesting fight to fans, but now I'm telling you right now, people in the States do not care about Tszyu versus Fundora. You know, it's not. For example, think about it, right? Tszyu's not known here in the States. You think that it's going to be a casual fan going to be like, oh, Tszyu's taking on Sebastian Fundora for $70? They're not buying that. They don't know who these people are. They don't know who these people are.
Fuck no. So,
you know, Rolly, he's got the exposure from fighting Tank Davis, and he's just a charismatic dude. And, you know, Isaac Cruz has a very strong Hispanic fan base because a lot of people think that he beat Tank Davis. I don't, but he has a strong fan base. So I'm telling you, those two are the most popular on the card, by far.
And, of course, you've got the fact that Thurman pissed off all the Mexican fans, so the Mexican fans would have bought it anyway.
Yeah, to see him get beat up. Yeah.
So they would have bought it for Rolly and Fundora and Keith. Yeah, the one thing I'm disappointed about this is now the meme that Keithy's done himself a mischief, died again, which is very disappointing because a lot of Australians were getting behind that again. Yeah. So we used it in our last video. So that was a very popular. Oh, this was a meme before memes were a thing, but very popular catchphrase. And the fact that Keithy was doing himself a mischief, which he has. He has done himself a mischief because he hurt his bloody bicep, apparently.
Yeah, so, and he released nothing on no statement, no anything, no apology to the fans. He just disappeared. And this is what he does in between fights. You know, but now, you know, he can't say anything because fans are going to look at him like he's a broken fighter. Like he's literally like Mr. Glass.
Yeah, I don't know why they digged him up in the bloody first place because it all turned to shit.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
It all turned, but, I mean... It's still going to do very, very successfully in Australia, probably even more so now that there's another belt on the line.
Mm-hmm.
So more Australian fans will go, well, I didn't want to really watch Keith Thurman because a lot of the people that I was talking to were going, oh, this is such a bullshit fight. I'm not watching this shit.
Mm.
But now he's fighting a legitimate opponent for another belt and might get Crawford afterwards. The Australian public are going to go, fuck yeah, we need to watch. This is actually worth watching now. This is actually worth our time. I know it doesn't.
Go ahead.
I know it doesn't tickle you Americans fancy, but Australian fans are going to be like, fuck yeah.
Especially with the shit they have y'all buying over there. Like, this is a welcome relief. They have y'all buying all kind of bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, we had a pay-per-view last week. Sam Goodman was fighting Mike Sleeves for $50.
Exactly.
So, and that was a flop. I mean, no one bought that. I don't think anyone bought that pay-per-view. It wasn't a pay-per-view fight in the first place, but yeah, that was a terrible thing for No Limit. But now they've got this, they can recoup those losses with the Tszyu fight and be like, they'll probably get 150,000 buys for Tim now that he's actually fighting for another title, and Crawford's might be next. So it's gonna, the Australian pay-per-view buys are going to do extremely well, very, very well.
Yeah, by the way,
probably even better now.
If it is going to be Tszyu versus Crawford. I'm seeing more August or July because the way it is, PB and this is if he stays with PBC and they promote the fight. It's going to be the Canelo fight in May. June is going to be the return of Tank Davis and possibly David Benavidez on the same card, and then July, the July slot, it could be Tszyu, Crawford, or August, depending on like what their pay-per-view is for that month if nobody lined up. But it could be Tank Davis's pay-per-view in June, and then David Benavidez takes the July pay-per-view. But it's not going to be two in 1 month. So, you know, I'm seeing more August, July for Tszyu Crawford if they do fight.
Do you guys have a big boxing event on your 4th of July weekend, or how's that work?
No, that's one thing we don't do. Here in the States.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
We stay away from like what we do though is Labor Day. But that's usually Canelo and Mayweather the week after.
When's Labor Day in the States?
The first Saturday of September, but normally that next week is the Mexican Independence holiday. You know, so that's when Canelo and Mayweather will always fight. So that September date is it's always there. But any pay-per-views around 4th of July, no. It would be like mid to late July. That's usually PBC's schedule with pay-per-views.
Yeah, we're the same. We don't have any fights around Australia Day either. So isn't Canelo fighting on Star Wars Day?
Cinco de Mayo, May the 4th. Yep, yeah, May the 4th be with you. There you go. Yeah, yes he is.
Yeah. yeah. That's been a thing for the last decade, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's a big thing over here.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Canelo took all of me. Remember, Mayweather used to fight in May and September, and Canelo now fights in May and September.
Well, who can blame Canelo? I mean,
Yeah,
So,
Mayweather was always beating up Mexicans on Cinco de Mayo and or Hispanic Cinco de Mayo and Mexican Independence Day. Every year he's beating them up.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, Canelo video. That's another one for another day. But I mean, I think yeah. So what are we saying? 9th round stoppage. Are you happy with that?
I see Tszyu breaking him down. I don't see Fundora being able to keep Tszyu off of him, especially if Tszyu brings back the body punching that has kind of
he's got to.
Yeah, that's the way to break Fundora down. It's right there, easy to hit, and Fundora's not a big mover. And as far as Fundora's concerned, he's going to have to be the mover, use the jab. Like, he's going to have to really finally use his height. He has all that height, and he doesn't use it. He wants to slug it out in the middle.
Someone that tall and he fights in the pocket.
Exactly. Doesn't make no sense. So Tszyu's going to pick him apart to the body.
Yeah. Well, because Tim hasn't used his body shots for a while, but this fight he's going to have to. So,
one thing I can say is, I'm trying to see. I think that Fundora is going to be the highest volume puncher that Tszyu has fought or possibly fought. I'm looking because Fundora does have a high output.
Yes, he does. And he was winning the fight against Mendoza until he got caught. So, but I think Tim will just break him down, wear him out, get him out of there in 9 rounds, and then move on to the Crawford fight. That's what I think is going to happen.
And we will be definitely hearing something. Obviously expect for Crawford to be there, and do not be surprised if just to spice things up, that if Tszyu does win, Crawford gets in the ring after the fight. I will not be surprised to try to start building that storyline.
Well, why wouldn't they do that? I mean, it sells itself. I mean, didn't Canelo do that against Triple G once, or vice versa?
Triple G did it to Canelo, and Irislandy Lara did it to Canelo.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Approached him at a press conference for the fight.
Yeah,
and remember also Tyson, also Fury, and Wilder did it before their fight, their first one.
Well, yeah, they need to get Crawford in the ring after the winner and say, "Righto, son, you're next," and that's basically all they need to. That's all they need to do. Just walk up, Goldberg him, you're next, and that's it.
And also since Crawford's a free agent and Tszyu may be a free agent as well, do not be surprised if the Saudis step in. I would not be surprised. The only problem with the only problem that some fans may have is if the Saudis step in, then the fight is happening in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, well, they're going to get a massive payday, which, well, the problem is with that, it makes it virtually impossible for fans to get there. I mean, media is sure, but what about the poor old fans? So,
yeah, you're right about that. But they roll the red carpet out when it comes to entertainment and hotel prices, but those plane tickets, I've looked them up already. It's something else. And then, with the time difference, it's a lot to get over there for a fight. It's not the type of place you can just go for 3 days. 3 days. You gotta, really plan it out.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the one thing the Saudis need to do is, if you want to make money, you've got to take care of your audience.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can't make it virtually impossible for these poor buggers to get there because no one will show up.
Yeah, just like the last couple events. They weren't, remember that big event in December wasn't sold out. There was a lot of empty seats. But then again, they decided to do that on December 23rd. Before Christmas. Yeah. I understand they don't celebrate Christmas over there, but the rest of the world does. People ain't traveling, and then also to Islamic country. Then also the last pay-per-view with Ngannou, Joshua, that didn't sell out either, and it's because you said getting to the events.
Yeah, exactly. But maybe they're relying on pay-per-view revenue. So,
but the pay-per-views have been flopping.
Have they? Oh, that's not
yes,
good.
They have. Yeah, yes, they have. Yes, they have. It's been,
really? They didn't do very well? That's disappointing. I thought they would have done quite well.
They have not been doing well. Fury and Ngannou flopped big time. The December the 23rd pay-per-view flopped. You know, and
probably because of the shitty time difference.
Yeah. And remember, that was both of those last pay-per-views. They were about 8-hour pay-per-views.
That's right. They went on for a very long time.
You know, like I'm talking about some starting at 10 o'clock in the morning. You know, not over till 8 p.m. You know, like like times like that. We're talking about prelims all the way through the pay-per-view.
Yeah, well, in Australia, it started at 2 in the morning. We're like, we're not getting up at 2 in the morning. Fuck that.
Yeah.
So it went from 2 in the morning till 10 in the morning. So,
all right. Closing thoughts.
Well, you know, I'm glad that this has happened for Fundora and Tszyu. It's a much more credible fight. It's a lot better fight. Let's not forget poor old Mixerafa's still on the card, and No Limit did mention him the other day in their little vignette thing they did. So we haven't totally forgot about that poor bugger. But it's going to be a lot better fight. All those lead to Crawford. And, I mean, I'm just happy that Tim is not fighting another blown-up, washed-up welterweight. But, you know, this is going to be better all over for Tim. And all roads lead to Crawford. And personally, you couldn't be happier about it. So it's great.
All right. So, as you know, Australian boxing season is picked up, I guess you can say, with guys like Liam Wilson taking on Oscar Valdez, Shanika Johnson, Nina Hughes. You got, of course, Loma versus Kambosos that Big J is going to be getting to. Who else am I missing? Who else? What's the other flagship fight that's coming up?
Jason Maloney in Japan.
The Maloney brothers. So basically, you know, Australian boxing is picking up, and also, of course, we're going to be doing an individual video on Mixerafa versus Irislandy Lara, and I'm going to go ahead and say I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm thinking that Mixerafa can possibly pull it off. I think he can pull it off because Irislandy Lara is losing his legs, and you know he hasn't been having top competition for years, and I just don't know. I think that age is finally going to catch up with him, but overall, we're going to be here covering all this Australian boxing, and of course, coming up very soon, we're going to be doing a full Australian boxing podcast, of course, talking more about Tszyu versus Fundora, but really we covered everything in here, and we're going to be pumping out Tszyu versus Fundora content next week before the fight and after the fight, and I'm going to be sitting here covering the entire card. So if you want to watch the fight and come talk to me or chat with me after the fight, we're going to be here, and I'm going to be doing individual post-fight videos for each fight on the main card. I got Tszyu defeating Sebastian Fundora. I can see a knockout. I'm leaning towards the second half of the fight. I will not be surprised, depending on what level Tszyu comes out at, if he wants to do a demolition job, that he may be able to finish Fundora off by 6, especially if he starts going to the body early. You know, that's going to really determine the fight to me, is where Tszyu is going to be focusing his offense. You can follow me at TstreeT Controversy and Big J at Old Mate Big J on Twitter. Thanks for watching. Having a wonderful day, and please subscribe.